If you've been scrolling through endless rows of specs, watching side-by-side videos and still feel that not of doubt about whether a giant 83-inch screen is worth the space and price, you're not alone. The moment you start picturing a massive TV in your living room, the questions multiply. Will it truly feel immersive, or will it just dominate the wall? Will the picture stay consistent from the couch to the kitchen counter? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last few weeks setting up the LG OLED 83B4P in a typical family room, using it for everything from movie nights to weekday Zoom calls, and I'm here to break down what really matters after the hype dies down. Let's start with the biggest claim, an 83-inch OLED that promises perfect black and perfect color. In a darkened room, those deep blacks are unmistakable. You can actually see the difference between a true black and a very dark gray. The contrast is so strong that a single candle flickering on a coffee table looks like a tiny, vivid beacon rather than a smudge. For binge watchers of sci-fi series or fans of high-budget blockbusters, that level of depth can make you feel like you're inside the scene. The Alpha 8 AI processor Gen 2 does a solid job of upscaling lower-resolution content. A 1080p sports broadcast suddenly looks tighter, with fewer jagged edges around fast-moving players. It's not magic, but the AI does a good enough job that most people won't notice the original source quality after the upscaling. That said, the perfect part has a practical side effect. OLED panels, especially at this size, are susceptible to temporary image retention if you leave static elements on screen for too long. I left a news ticker on for an hour while I cooked, and when I turned the TV back on, there was a faint ghost of the ticker for a few seconds. LG's built-in pixel refresher helped erase it quickly, but the process takes a few minutes of blank screen or a low brightness loop. If you're the type who watches the same news channel with a constant logo, or you use the TV as a gaming monitor with a static HUD, you might need to schedule the pixel refresher more often. It's a trade-off you won't see on a traditional LED, and it's worth keeping in mind before you commit to the largest OLED on the market. Now, how does this TV fit into everyday life beyond the cinema moments? The AI WebOS platform feels surprisingly intuitive for a screen that size. Voice control through the remote works well for turning on streaming apps, adjusting volume, or even asking for the weather, which is handy when you're sprawled on the couch. The app library is extensive. You get Netflix, Disney+, Prime Video, and even LG channels, which includes a handful of live news and sports streams. I tried the built-in web browser to pull up a recipe site while cooking, and the on-screen keyboard is large enough to be usable from a distance, though it's a bit clunky compared to a phone. If you're a smart home enthusiast, the TV integrates with Google Assistant and Alexa, letting you control lights and thermostats without reaching for another device. One of the less obvious strengths shows up when you use the TV for work. My partner needed a secondary display for video calls, and the OLED's color accuracy made her skin tones look natural, something that's a pain point on cheaper panels. The built-in webcam, a separate accessory you need to buy, paired with the AI processor's noise reduction kept the background clear even in a bright kitchen. The large screen meant she could have multiple windows open, a spreadsheet on one side, a video call on the other, without feeling cramped. For anyone who works from home and wants a more immersive setup than a 27-inch monitor, this TV doubles as a surprisingly effective workstation, provided you have a decent desk or wall mount arrangement. Speaking of mounting, the physical size brings hidden trade-offs. The 83-inch frame measures over 73 inches wide, and the stand takes up a lot of floor space. I opted for a ceiling mount because my sofa sits too close, and the TV's weight required a sturdy Visa bracket, not something you can just bolt onto any wall. If your living room ceiling or studs can't handle it, you'll need professional installation, which adds to the overall cost. The viewing distance recommendation from LG is about 810 feet for optimal immersion. Sit any closer and you'll start to notice the pixel structure, which defeats the purpose of an OLED smoothness. So, before you fall in love with the screen size, measure your room and think about furniture placement. Who should buy this? First, families who already have a dedicated media room or a spacious living area where an 83-inch panel can truly dominate without crowding the space. If you love watching movies in the dark, playing the latest console with HDR support, or streaming high-resolution content, the OLED's contrast in color will feel like an upgrade you can't ignore. It also makes sense for remote workers who need a